Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server and it got updated today. So we've already talked about a few of the changes such as the Su-30 and had a look at some of the new naval vehicles that have come in. Now it's time to have a look at the other changes that are here for this dev server. There's a metric ton of them, as there always is with these, so we're going to go through all of them and kind of show you what's been going on. As always, if you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video, and just remember that this is all subject to change. Things can move around, and they will move around. There's also some stuff in the data mines about some upcoming vehicles, and even maybe a Christmas event change compared to the standard. So let's get started. First of all, we have the Su-30 MKK. This was the new vehicle that they added to the dev server, not in the files, but just straight there. It is a premium coming in for the good old Chinese. It looks very similar to the premium that is here from the Russian side of things. So did an independent video on this. If you want to have a look, make sure to do. Now, also, there was something that they showed on the Russian stream that I can't seem to show you here, but it looks like they're adding in some graphs. They're adding in an energy calculation on shell stat card setup, so that probably is leading to the thing that BVD showed, which is where you could actually see how far your penetration on your gun goes. So instead of just having a bunch of numbers on a screen, you can actually see it in graph form. So it looks like they're trying to implement that, and they've put a few changes in for that. They've also doing it for aircraft too, it seems, when it comes to their flight path and where they're able to go through. So I think that's actually really cool. There's also been a bunch of little flight model changes to a million different vehicles, and we'll go through them if there's some big aggressive ones, but to be honest with you, there's nothing too crazy. Also, they have changed the B-25s again. So basically the B-25J, they've removed the water cooler on it. So no more water cooling for you. You see it has the oil cooling system, but not the water cooler anymore. What they've also done is they've changed the cockpit of the new B-25s. So remember, the new cockpit is coming in for the B-25J20, the 30s, the PBJ-1H, the PBJ-1J, and also now the B-25K, which is the SB-25J, which was the Battle Pass one recently. So looks like they're still modifying it. It looks pretty good to me, but I'm sure they will get it sorted as it goes. Now, talking about some other cockpit changes, there's some MFD changes, which are the multifunction display stuff that you have in some high-ranking vehicles. So for the 209, there was some changes to it, and also the AH-1Z. Not going to go through them too much because I think I'll do an individual or independent video which goes through all of the cockpits of these vehicles and what's kind of going on with it. There's also some sensor changes for the Gripens. Looks like they are trying to change them up a little bit. This is coming in for the Japanese Gripen, the Swedish Gripen, and also the Hungarian one and the British one, mainly affecting the Gripen the Gripen Cs, but also the Gripen A in the Swedish tech tree. When it comes to their radar, the PS05A, the narrow surge, medium surge, and also narrow TWS. Medium TWS has been changed. The horizontal limits, instead of being -70 to 70, are now going to be -60 to 60. So they're actually a little bit smaller in terms of what they look at. Also, the wide search has been changed as well from -70 to 70 to -60 to 60. So it definitely loses a little bit of use there, but it still should be very good in what it does. It just means the scan area is going to be a little bit smaller. Talking about radars, we also have a change to the HQ-11. You may remember yesterday, I talked about the fact that it was a bit weird how the radar on this thing doesn't actually go down. Well, sometimes you just have to wait a day, and what happens is it is now able to go down. That animation is really nice, and it means that you can fully pack up the vehicle and be able to go around the place. Oh my lord, okay, that was interesting. Just Tokyo drifting around the place. But yeah, so you can close the radar, meaning that you can make this vehicle a lot smaller, and then you can reset everywhere, and you can see also now it actually rotates instead of just being still. So yeah, looks pretty cool to me in terms of the vehicle. And it's nice to see more of these animations, nice to see more of these things. Hopefully they move the camera so it actually sticks. Now, let's talk about something that is in the data mines, which I'm not going to go through too much, but Basically, there is a new vehicle which is sat in the files, or kind of a new vehicle. It's based on an old one. So you have the M8HMC Snowball, which is there. And this one seems to be something to do with maybe a Christmas event which is coming along, maybe a simple one where maybe you have to just hit people with the spud gun and it will kind of knock them out, maybe some kind of snowball event. But also at the same time, the difference between the two models is that this one has obviously the American crew members on it, whereas this new one, this snowball version, has elf women as the crew members. And as we all know, when it comes to the elf women, every time they're around in the War Thunder ecosystem, we have an interesting time. It also has a snowball cannon instead of a regular one. So yeah, looks like they might be doing a mini event for Christmas where you throw snowballs at each other. Might be pretty fun. We'll see how it goes. And obviously with the new hangar, we're probably going to get some new Christmas stuff too. So I'm looking forward to that as well as it comes around. There are some other changes to some other American vehicles. So the M10 Booker that we talked about the other day, I talked about the fact it was a bit weird that it didn't have access to an LWS. Well, it now has an LWS. So sometimes that's just how it happens. It has the RALM 101 LWS, and it's now attached to the laser rangefinder modification. So you can get both of them, and that just basically means that the vehicle will have a bit more setup. They also fixed the smoke grenade on it. One of the smoke grenades was kind of stuck inside of the launcher, but now it's sorted. So a little change, but always nice to see. Talking about another vehicle, the NASAMS. You can see that they've actually changed the truck for the American one. It is now similar to the other vehicle that we have in the American tech tree, the Claws system. Basically, it's the Humvee, which drags around the radar. So that is now different compared to what it was before. The Swedish one stays the same, though. And what I really like about this is, at least when it comes to Zabi, he calls this thing the Gajjn Wagon, which is fantastic. You can actually see that here it has a G on it. And I'm guessing that's the Gajjn logo, because when it comes to all the other types of vehicles and trucks and stuff in the game, they don't really have any insignia or anything like that. So it's just interesting that they've decided to do that. But this is, as I said, just like the standard Humvee that we've seen previously, the 160 horsepower engine, the radiator, the transmissions. This thing should be a little bit quicker than the other one as it wanders around. It also has a power system up here, and obviously the big electronic block as well, which is moving stuff. They've also changed some of the suspension animations on the Jaguar, so it's a little bit less dodgy. I didn't see anything about them actually fixing the aiming on it, though, so I'll just check that for you, because obviously that one's quite serious, you know? And it does look like they have fixed it. So the thing does have very limited angles of fire in terms of having the stuff in front. But yeah, it actually works now. So you can aim forward instead of having to deal with what you were dealing with before. So this is really good. And yeah, so no more bouncy, and the vehicle can just work how it's supposed to. The Jaguar is one of the vehicles I'm looking forward to the most in the next major update, just because it's one of my favorite vehicles to use in Warno, surprisingly, which I have been really enjoying over this year. The BMPTs. So, BMPTs have changed quite a bit. They're still not fully there, though, which is why we've got to be a bit careful about this stuff. I don't want to get people like up in a hizzy because of it. So, yeah. Let's still wait for more changes and see what's kind of going on for it. This one feels very similar to the VT5, when the VT5 kept going through a bunch of different changes before it came out. And the BMPT, I think, is going to have the same issue. With the premium one, they've added some little pieces of armor around the gun. So basically the whole front upper row area where there's ERA over here, they've also added a bit more armor there. The KE modifier is also way higher. It's 670% instead of 300 now. And also the chemical modifier is 1500 instead of 900%. So they're just making it a little bit more tanky in the areas where it already is really tanky. And they are starting to add some more stuff like 50mm of RHA volumetric armor at the base of the cannons. So they're really starting to sort out what the armor is supposed to look like on this turret. And you can see here, all of these pieces are all volumetric armor. So none of them are just like flat pieces. apart from the actual gun, the gun mount here, everything else is variable. So there's a lot of effort that's going into this thing, and all of these pieces being volumetric, I'm very worried about shots just completely disappearing and missing these tiny ammo belts that are there. When it comes to the guns, they both only have one still, so you can't fire the other one. They still are not there. And you can also see with the standard BMPT, its armor is not ready yet, so they haven't changed that one. They have actually changed something on this, though, which does make it better than the one which is going to be a premium, and that is this. They've actually added a new round. This is a HEI PD round, which is coming in for the gun. So you know how I was talking about how this thing has like target tracking and how that's kind of useful, but it doesn't have like a VT shell, so it kind of feels weird that that's the case. Well, now it has a PD shell, which, you know, is basically one which is a timed fuse one, so it should actually work pretty well against stuff like helicopters and things like that, if the actual gun itself worked properly, which you can see it kind of does if you line it up properly. But yeah, so we'll have to see how it goes with it, but it's going to be similar to the ahead rounds, just slightly different in general sound. They also fixed some missile issues with it, but yeah, the aimer is still balked on this one, and it still doesn't work very well. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on with it. It's just, once again, just not fully there, and it kind of sucks. You remember that boxer we talked about the other day, which is in the files but not viewable and not there? Well, it looks like it might be coming in this update, the Australian boxer, because they've added a bunch of stuff to it. So they've given it a 30mm. This is the CRV Block 2, by the way. They've given it a 30mm, which is the MK30-2 ABM. They've also added Spike LR2s to it, a 12.7, a 7.62, power system, target tracker, and also some smoke grenades. So maybe we'll see that soon. Who knows at the end of the day. They also changed the armor on the HQ11. This one got moved around as well. So just basically putting some extra structural steel at the bottom, and then also this rolled homogeneous here too. So not huge changes because it's not going to affect the vehicle, but just better modeling compared to what we saw before. In terms of the ships, there's a few changes. So the Stalingrad, we talked about how its armor wasn't very good. They have made it a bit better. You can see here the turret sides are now actually 225 instead of 30mm, which is what they were before. And then also the turret rear, surprisingly, just has a metric ton of armor, the most armor on the vehicle itself. So it has 400 now. It was 305 before, but yeah, it's now much better. They also fixed the secondary ammo on it and sorted it out. And the other thing to also note is there was a few different fixes to ammunition for the Russians too. So first of all, you may have noticed the BMP now has 425 rounds of ammunition, all on a singular gun once again. But then also the pancake tank, the HE model, is now the Rubin instead of the Accra, because before it was actually using the Accra missiles, which didn't really make a ton of sense since it doesn't fire those. You can now, ooh. Was this always like this? How stylish. But yeah, you can see here that it looks slightly different than it did previously in terms of the actual HE setup. So yeah, there's a bunch of different changes that have come into the game. There's a few little changes in terms of like icons and stuff like that, but nothing too crazy, and no more infantry stuff, at least for now. I'm sure we'll be able to see it soon, maybe even on this dev server. But as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.